Hello and welcome back to Kidocracy at Large. I'm Siddhan Chandra, here every Saturday to offer a kidocratic view of current events and collective conditions. Kidocracy is a call, a declaration of the rule of minors and minorities. And kidocratic education is led by minors and minorities aimed at adults and the majority. Through movements like Black Lives Matter, I Do No More, Occupy, Me Too, and Fridays for Future, and through actions taken by individuals. Last week, I spoke of Stan Swamy, the 84-year-old Jesuit priest who died in prison in his solidarity with the Indigenous people of India. Today, I would like to present him in the context of the third value of kidocracy, the gift or the philosophy of expenditure, and further juxtapose him with AOC, the congressional representative in the United States, as well as the striking Indian farmers and Chinese millennials, to demonstrate the range of kidocratic expression towards sketching a big tent kidocracy that can accommodate and integrate the diversity of the 99% so that we can rule and regulate the planet's richest 1%. So first, the value number 3 of kidocratic education, the gift or the philosophy of expenditure. I encountered George Bataille's essay, The Notion of Expenditure, in 1992 when writing my master's thesis on reservoir dogs. Here, I found Bataille's philosophy of expenditure centering the potlatch as practiced by Indigenous Americans as the antidote to capitalism, which he describes as an economy of production, extraction, and accumulation, and utilitarian exchange. His notion of the gift as a strike against the utilitarian exchange of capitalism became the base of what I formulated as kidocracy in the 2010s, inspired by my participation in and self-education through the I Do No More movement, Occupy, Black Lives Matter, and Fridays for Future. These movements and many more elsewhere, like Arab Spring, Hong Kong, Umbrella Movement, March for Our Lives, emboldened me to articulate kidocracy as a political philosophy and a popular educational practice based on 9 values. The gift or the philosophy of expenditure is the third of those 9 values. Bataille's essay, The Notion of Expenditure, helped me crack the code of Reservoir Dogs, which was vilified by most critics for its gratuitous violence. Gratuitous. The word originated in mid-17th century from Latin gratuitus, given freely, spontaneous. An online search offered 2 sets of meanings. The first was negative, as in uncalled for, lacking good reason, unwarranted, unprovoked, undue, indefensible, unjustifiable, needless, unnecessary, superfluous, redundant, avoidable, non-essential, unmerited, senseless, careless, wanton, indiscriminate, unreasoning, brutish, excessive, immoderate, disproportionate, inordinate, unfounded, baseless, inappropriate. The second set of meanings is totally benign, even generous, as in given or done free of charge, free, gratis, complimentary, voluntary, unpaid, unrewarded, unsalaried, free of charge, for nothing, for free, on the house. In other words, a gift. Bataille, a 20th century French philosopher, both Marxist and Nietzschean, would see the second meaning of gratuity or gift as being suppressed by the first set, as unwarranted and excessive. Similar to how non-Christian native cultures were overwhelmed by Christianity and capitalism. For example, in Canada, the British colonial government banned potlatches, which are Indigenous festivals with elaborate gift giving. These were banned in 1884 as wasteful, reckless, and anti-Christian, while grabbing indigenous land for quote-unquote rational production and development, meaning logging, mining, and factory agriculture. The practice of the gift is universal among global non-Christian cultures. But Bataille focuses on the potlatch as a pure example of the economy of expenditure. The potlatch, in which a person's status is determined by what he gives and not what he keeps for himself, in which surplus wealth was given away or spent in orgiastic celebrations, completely opposes the practices of capitalism, meaning production, extraction, accumulation, and utilitarian exchange. Like Nietzsche, Bataille blames Christianity for lowering the ceiling on non-productive expenditure of European pagan cultures. And he blames the rise of the bourgeoisie, who replaced the prodigality of the feudal classes with rational expenditure, accumulation, and hiding of one's wealth. And when Europeans colonized the Americas, the potlatch cultures of the indigenous people, with its ritualized redistribution of wealth, was obliterated by colonial piracy, extraction, slave labor, consumerism, and accumulation, which has resulted in the systemic persecution and genocide of the indigenous people and our current climate bankruptcy. In 2012, in Canada, when the Idle No More movement called a halt to this endlessly rationalized production and development by protesting Bill C-45, which opened up indigenous lands to encroaching development, the realm of the potlatch opened up again. Rallies, round dances, blockades derailed the juggernaut of capitalist production and connected all of us through the priceless joys of native culture. It was then I learned about the residential school system, which blocked the play of indigenous children by imposing the timetable of work and the forced labor of assimilation into Christianity. It was then that I saw the Bataillian notion of expenditure as play and production as work. And it was then I wrote the first draft of the Kidocratic Manifesto in 2013, calling for a play-centered economy, foregrounding art, culture, and non-productive sex, rejecting wage slavery and consumerism, declaring that we will work only as much as is necessary to keep on playing, which developed into an anti-slavery political philosophy based on 9 values articulated in 9 videos, the first 9 videos of this channel. In the initial video about the third value of the 9 of kidocracy, the gift or the philosophy of expenditure, I compare Reservoir Dogs to Shakespeare's Hamlet. Both stories point not to the efficacy of strategic action towards desired goals, but rather a problematization of the desired goals. There's a rejection of rational goals of success, kingship for Hamlet, and a payoff for Mr. Blonde. I propose seeing Mr. Blonde's gratuitous violence and Hamlet's procrastination of effective strategic action as strikes against oppressive systems of productivity, underscoring the Bataillian concept of the gift as anything that disrupts the balanced accounts of utilitarian exchange, whether in capitalism or feudalism. According to this notion of the gift, presents exchanged to maintain relationships are not gifts at all. The Bataillian gift is unreturnable, a strike against oppressive production, be it capitalist or feudal. So this is the context to foreground Stan Swamy as a figure who called a strike against oppressively productive policies by the Indian state. He problematized the politics of successive Indian governments since the 60s, steamrolling dam constructions and mining projects, displacing indigenous people, destroying their culture, and polluting their land. The oppressive language of productivity intensified as the Indian state became more fascist. New laws and amendments to existing ones passed by Hindu majoritarian Modi government enabled it to imprison thousands of indigenous people, Dalits, Muslims, and other minorities. In the potlatches, the goal was to give a gift that could not be returned, a gift so big that it cannot be returned. But I saw the gift as incalculable, with a strong element of chance and risk. Sometimes it is not even intended. It happens. According to Derrida, the gift erupts and determines the giver and the receiver. One could say the gift is as great as the risk taken. And Stan Swamy took a gigantic risk, challenging a fascist state. What does it mean to receive this gift by Stan Swamy? It is to acknowledge that things cannot go on like before. It is to disaffiliate from the productive machinery of a fascist government. It is to affiliate with the indigenous people, not just to support their rights to self-determination, but to emulate and learn from their way of life that Stan fell in love with, their egalitarianism, their consensus-based decision-making, their closeness, and their contentment. Stan Swamy left a relatively comfortable career in academics as the director of the Indian Social Institute in Bangalore to play a risky game for higher stakes in Jharkhand. But that is not the only model. The gift has wide-ranging expression. Other people that I have contextualized in previous videos as belonging to or operating in the realm of the gift are AOC, as well as Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. AOC's willingness to risk her political career by promoting unpopular, minority-friendly laws while in office can be seen as belonging to the economy of expenditure or the gift. For her, it is not about accumulation of corporate stakeholder wealth. It is about the unquantifiable value of the well-being of people. She is disrupting the utilitarian exchange between democrats and corporations. And what is the economy of utilitarian exchange that Harry and Meghan exploded? It is the one between British royal family and the tabloid press, in which the royals pander enough to the press, who in return shore up the royals' ongoing wealth and privilege. When Meghan and Harry fled a racist, sexist smear campaign by the British press that deifies the Queen, they broke the utilitarian exchange that co-produces fascism. I see Meghan as the field slave who converted Harry, the house slave, into taking the underground railway. The risk they took was to challenge the molar entities of the family and the state. Which brings me to the Indian farmers still striking outside Delhi against Modi's new laws that abandon their livelihoods to the vagaries of neoliberal capitalist marketplace. They are disrupting Modi's master plan to move bodies from agriculture to the factory assembly line, like China did decades ago, to make India a similar superpower. Whereas in China today, there is a new countercultural movement called Tang Ping, meaning lying down or lying flat, of millennials rejecting not only employment but also marriage and children. A backlash against China's hyper-productive work environment, hyper-competitive work environment, summed up as 996. That is, working from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., 6 days a week. So we see how the gift encompasses a range of anti-slavery politics, led by minors and minorities, rejecting the majoritarian values of compulsive work, forced labor, and productivity. I hope to speak more about these strikes by Indian farmers, Chinese millennials, and others next week. Till then, bye.